Kyle here from All Media Reviews. Vinyl collection video number, this would be number what, 4? Yeah, that was the third one. And now into the A to Z section, now into the B, so alright. Tony Banks, the only solo thing I have from him, which is interesting, I really like his album, his debut album. Curious Feeling, I think it is. Anyway, I need to get that, but I only have soundtracks, which I think... Yeah, Toyo Wilcox is on Line of Symmetry, but these are tracks that were used for films and stuff like that. I also don't have the things that he had, that one album in the 80s that had Fish from Marillion. But anyway, soundtracks for $3. I got this. Anyway, Tony Banks. Now, the Baltic Sea. It's an obscure band. I believe they're from, like, Maine? Somewhere in New England. I found out about this 1 year toward the end of the year from some of the Dredge fans. They have a previous album, but this is the one that came out. I got on vinyl. Period Piece. It's progressive art rock. I mean, it's kind of like in like Dredge or the Mars Volta vein in some ways. It's a good album. I know there was some of the vocals kind of bugged me a little bit. He sings kind of close to the mic, but a lot of dynamics on this record. I haven't listened to it in a long time. I don't even know if it made my list. It was like on the very edge of that progressive art rock list, but it's been 12 years now. I could go for revisiting this. Maybe I will soon. The Baltic Sea from... or Period Piece from the Baltic Sea. I think it was 2011. I need to be able to look on this. Yeah, it was 2011. Anyway, Battles. The debut album from Battles, Mirrored, which is really the only Battles album I really like much. I really like this album, though. Experimental. Math rock. They... Very influenced by King Crimson, by like Three of a Perfect Pair and the 80s Crimson, but... Tyonde Braxton, I think, made a huge difference in a lot of the way the creativity of the songs on this album. Yeah, I remember when I got this, I had to get this on vinyl. It's like, kind of got won over, even though hipsters loved it. It's prog rock. There's like a yes element to it at points, and so. All right, so now here's the whole Beatles section, and that's the thing. I didn't even really sort these by title or by chronology, so. My apologies for them not being exactly in order, which I need to probably put them in order. But anyway, so I'm just going to go through them. So I have a rarities collection, which I believe was my parents'. Might have been my brother's, but anyway, this is just a compilation. Everyone and their mother has a million Beatles albums, so this isn't that weird, but it's cool to have it. A lot of these are first pressings, though. That's the neat things. Beatles 6. Again, this is early Beatles. Even finding the years on some of this stuff will be a challenge. I need to look this stuff up on Discogs, though, and see what we're looking at. But anyway, I'm just going to start going through it. So, Beatles 6. Okay, so Meet the Beatles. Again, early, this is like 62 or 63. Obviously, this had like Love Me Do on it. No, actually, it didn't. I Want to Hold Your Hand. I saw her standing there, This Boy, but it didn't have Love Me Do, their first single. Anyway. And then, okay, Yesterday and Today. This is not one of the ones, I don't think, with the original cover that would be more of a higher value, but this came out as like 65, and so this may be showing up on one of my lists, because I don't know, I do the albums of the year, I don't think I'm doing anything earlier than that. I could, but I struggle, so. Let me try to get some of the earlier ones out of the way here again. The Beatles' second album. Again, a lot of covers on it, of course. And then the early Beatles compilation. So, Love Me Do is on this one, of course. Please Please Me. Please Please Me has always been a favorite of mine of the early stuff. All right, so yeah, I think that's it for the early stuff. Yes. So now we get into the stuff that's my favorite Beatles more so. But there's one glaring hole in here. It looks like All right. So here's I got 2 copies of Rubber Soul. This is, I think, probably my parents' copy. It was like $3 back in whenever it was, the 60s. They bought it, early 70s maybe. And Rubber Soul is the first kind of album that I see that they did. They did some of it, but they were really starting to experiment. Of course, I got this one more recently at Half Price Books. So, Norwegian Wood, of course. In My Life, You Won't See Me, Michelle. It's got a, Girl. There's a lot of staples on it. So, Okay, so then, oh, I missed this one. There was Beatles '65, which that was the same year. Again, another one of my parents' early ones. I don't know what the condition of these records are, anyways, but just for collector's sake, it's neat to have them because they go they go back so far, So, all right, so I only have one copy of Revolver. My mother specifically, not much of a fan of the later Beatles, so it's not weird that they wouldn't have a lot of copies of the later stuff. So, Revolver, of course it has Tomorrow Never Knows, Taxman, Eleanor Rigby, Good Day Sunshine. I just, got to get you in my life. Isn't Dr. Robert on this album? Maybe different versions. This version doesn't have it. But anyway. I've done only like one or two Beatles videos, and I could go for doing another one. But, again, everyone and their mother has done videos about the Beatles, so it's just not that original. That's the thing that sucks. So, alright. Now, this one I'm not 100% certain about what the origin is. I have two copies of Sgt. Pepper's. One of them is mine that I bought in 1987. It was the first vinyl record I ever bought. I'm thinking it's this one, though, because I don't have a more recent copy. This looks more like mine. So this is a repress. This is like whatever, third generation, whatever, mid-'80s pressing or mid to late 80s. This might be my parents' original. Even though my mother didn't like the early Beatles that much, yeah, they probably got this because it was everywhere and it was hyped up, and then she probably had to find out what all the fuss. Of course, everyone and their mother knows this album, but for good reason. It's a classic. It's a perfect record to me. Not to spoil my albums of the year from that year, but, A Day in the Life, of course, alone. Beatles Doing Prague, and, my go-to, it's a top 10, if not my favorite Beatles song. So then, of course, I've got two copies of Magical Mystery Tour as well. And I'm guessing there's kind of a similar story with my parents bought this, too, even though, again, they're not fanatics about... This one I bought at Half Price Books within the last... That was in 2012, so it was right when I was starting to buy more vinyl. So, how early these pressings are. This might be in like a first or second pressing, so... Okay, so then I've got only the single copy of Abbey Road, and my parents didn't have Abbey Road, apparently, or at least I didn't get that. I have some more records in the other room, but I don't think there were any Beatles in there, so... Abbey Road is a perfect record to me, also, just like Sgt. Pepper's. Love the Sweet... love, Here Comes the Sun, Come Together, something. It's fantastic. I know it's their last work, and, they were about to break up and everything, but, the Peter Jackson documentary that came out a couple years ago shows a lot of what happened with it, but, and seeing Collective Unconscious perform it twice with a vintage instrument was just remarkable. It's highly memorable. I saw it twice, actually, so I have these two others. The weird thing is, of course, the compilation that my mother probably played to death, 62 to 66, that a lot of people had. So I have all those other early ones, and then this one. And then this is a compilation that I think I also have on cassette, because I have some cassette tapes. I have a Beatles compilation cassette, a couple of them growing up, and then I had, the one was called, I think this isn't Hey Jude, is it? Or maybe it is. Oh, this is Hey Jude, which was, this is later, which has some stuff from the White Album. But it has Paperback Writer and whatever, so that's the Beatles haul. That might not be 100%, but it's pretty close of all the Beatles stuff I have. There's a stack of records that aren't in great shape in the other room that I might eventually have to mix in here. So, moving on to the next letter in the B's. I want to try to do this in order. I'm trying to put this in the right order. We have, of course, before I screw this up, the band that's sort of been polarizing of late, but for unfortunate reasons. Between the Bear and Me, so I have the self-titled, which I haven't listened to in a long time. I know it doesn't have any clean vocals, but it's still very progressive while still being metalcore, and it's really heavy. That was 2000... Was it 2000 or 2000... I can't remember what year it was. It doesn't have the year on here. I think it was like 2000 or 2000... Maybe 2002, actually. I think it was 2002. Then I have Silent Circus, and that was 2003. Which has Mordecai, among other, added Diglamud and Destructive Spin, and it's still they still had a lot of the, the metalcore elements, but they were getting more progressive with it, with their sound at that point in 2003. Then Alaska, which to me was their breakthrough, and they got more progressive. It has Selkies, the Endless Obsession, which a lot of King Crimson elements in that, of course, the Free of a Perfect Pair. the title track, wrote Backwards Marathon, It's Raining, this is a fantastic record, Alaska, from 2005. And then, to me, what their peak was with Colors in 2007, which made me a fan. I didn't get into them until hearing this. Never got into extreme metal and extreme vocals, really, other than Opeth and maybe Orphan Land. It has White Walls, which is probably my go-to favorite track still. It's an epic. I always associate with Stairway to Heaven and everything, the guitar solo at the end. Son of Nothing. I mean, the whole thing is like one long piece. It's a perfectly composed record, whatever it is. It's a little less than, an hour. So, Colors from 2007. Alright, so moving on into the Bs. I'm trying to do these in some kind of chronological order again. I have 3 Ben Sinister albums. I have Small Fame, which this is the full track list, I believe, with Quest for Love, the epic closer. A lot of pop elements, some prog elements, some like blues, classic rock elements, of course. Give It Up, One Shot, Got You on My Mind, My Lady, Hot Blooded Man. Black Magic Woman, not a cover of the song by Fleetwood Mac, and then that Santana did or whatever. But so that was Small Fame 2012. We got them all to sign it, of course. And then 2014's Animals. This is the one that's abridged, unfortunately. There's a couple tracks that aren't on here, unfortunately. Does have Best of You though. I think Through the Week is one of the tracks that's not on here, but. Someday I need to get the full version if there's a double album or something like that, but if it did come out with the full track list. But yeah, Animals in 2014, also signed. And then Foolish Games, their most recent full length, but there's one probably coming around the corner because they put out the single a couple weeks back, and it's been 5 years since the full length. But Foolish Games from 2018. So to close out the Bs, or close out the shelf. I got 2 more. Bent Knee. I have 2016's. I can't remember the name of this album. Say So, which is the album that I first discovered them with. And then 2017's Land Animal. Of course, I don't have the previous album, which I'm blanking. I have it on CD. But yeah, I love both. I love both these records. I would go with Land Animal between the 2 of them, but. Say So has Black Tar Water, Leak Water. That's the Black Tar Water and Leak Water. Leak Water is the song I'm thinking of. The title track on Land Animal is one of my favorite songs from them. But they're a band that I really was into for a couple years, and their last few records have kind of started to lose me, unfortunately. And a couple of members left, but who knows? I'll still listen to whatever they put out. So, but anyway, that's the end of the first shelf. I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep going today, but I have tomorrow off, of course, but I'm going to the doctor in the afternoon, but looking at things, I can start to make some progress. Maybe this series won't take as long as I feared it would, but, but anyway, thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and we'll see you next time.